Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a pretty unique correlation. We're linking a specific set of, well, 12 biblical passages to the path of Comet C 2025 A6, Comet Lemmon.
That's right. And the argument presented in these sources is that these texts aren't just random. They actually form a coherent story
A story about what, exactly?
about the systemic failure of human kingship, earthly rulers, and how it's ultimately superseded by perfect divine authority.
Okay, so our goal here is to really pull out that main theme, the whole contest over dominion, and how that helps us interpret the comet's appearance.
Precisely. That theme is supposed to be the key. The narrative provides the framework for understanding the sign in the heavens.
Got it. Let's start with the text then, with that failure you mentioned. Jeremiah 44.9 seems pretty central, doesn't it? It points the finger directly at the leadership.
It does. It specifically calls out the kings of Judah and their wives. It suggests the corruption originated right at the very top, systemic from the start, really.
And you see the result of that decay pretty starkly with King Zedekiah later on in Jeremiah 38.
Oh, absolutely. That's maybe the low point. He tells his own officials he can do anything against you, basically admitting he has no power left. He couldn't even protect Jeremiah.
A complete abdication of his responsibility, really.
It shows that the authority delegated to him had just, well, completely eroded.
Then there's that benchmark in 2 Kings 14.3. It judges later kings against David, saying they were not as David his father. Is that the standard then?
That's exactly how the sources frame it. The failure is shown to be systemic, because none of them could live up to that original standard of righteousness set by David.
Which I suppose sets the stage for needing a different kind of ruler.
Exactly. It highlights the need for a divine solution, and that's introduced almost immediately in contrast, like in John 10.2.
Ah, the shepherd. He who is entering through the door is shepherd of the sheep.
Yes, establishing this picture of legitimate, perfect authority, totally different from those failed kings.
And this legitimate ruler offers something different too. John 6.47 mentions life age during. What does that mean in this context? Is it just immortality?
It's more than just timelessness, apparently. The sources connect it to the specific quality of life, the conditions proper to the Messianic age, this new dominion.
So a restored world, in a sense.
Which brings us to the principle of restoration itself. David is the model again, back in 1 Samuel 30. Remember, he recovers everything after the raid on Ziklag.
All hath David brought back, nothing missing.
Right. From small, even unto great. It foreshadows that the true king must achieve a similar total restoration, nothing less.
Okay, so the texts lay out this narrative. Failure, the promise of a true shepherd king, and total restoration. Now, how do we connect this to a comet?
That requires bringing in a couple of specific interpretive frameworks for celestial signs and timing. We need to look at E.W. Bullinger's work on the constellations and Ernest L. Martin's biblical chronology.
Martin's work helps set the timing, right? Aligning events with the Hebrew calendar?
Yes, that's crucial. He argued, for instance, that significant events like the Messiah's birth align with key dates, like Rosh Hashanah, which he placed on September 11th, 3 BCE. So the timing, the calendar, is fundamental.
And Bullinger, what does he add?
Bullinger looked at the ancient meanings of constellations, and his key insight for this discussion is about Ursa Major, the Great Bear.
Yep.
He found that its ancient Hebrew name wasn't about a bear, but ash, meaning the flock or the fold.
The flock, like the shepherd's flock from John 10.
Exactly. A direct celestial parallel to the true shepherd gathering his people.
Wow. Okay, so now let's look at Comet Lemmon's path in late 2025. Where does it go?
Well, the astronomical data shows that around October-November 2025, it moves through Ursa Major, the flock.
Through the flock.
And then it heads into Leo Minor, which Bullinger interprets as representing the triumphant king.
So the flock under the triumphant king. The narrative continues in the sky.
Precisely. And the climax comes as the comet reaches its peak brightness around October 31st, November 1st.
Where is it then?
It enters the constellation Ophiuchus.
The serpent holder.
The serpent holder.
And Bullinger connects this to
the Messiah's decisive conflict, the struggle against the adversary, the serpent power. It's depicted as a man wrestling a serpent.
So putting it all together, what are we seeing here?
What the sources suggest is that the comet's path is a visual representation, almost a celestial enactment of the scriptural story. The true shepherd gathers his flock, asserts the king's authority, and moves into the final confrontation.
A remarkable convergence. if that interpretation holds. It ties the text and the stars together quite tightly.
It certainly presents a very specific reading of both.
And just one final thought for you, the listener, to consider. The specific translation source we drew on for these texts, called H2F15, it actually contains its own internal publication date.
Oh, when's that?
September 29th, 2025, which is, right around the time of the fall feast that year.
Huh. Just before the comet makes its key movements through Ursa Major and Leo Minor.
Exactly. So think about that timing. The apparent unsealing or release of this specific textual interpretation seems timed to happen just before its claimed celestial counterpart appears in the sky, something to mull over.